Hello, everyone. I'm Samuel Wyke, Principal Product Manager for ThoughtSpot AI, and I will be covering how you can supercharge your Databricks investment with DataSpot, showcasing ThoughtSpot's latest innovations in the areas of agentic analytics and our integration points with Databricks. So I'll go ahead and provide a little bit of background for those who may not be familiar with ThoughtSpot as an agentic analytics platform. So this is an overview of the various key product tenets for ThoughtSpot and DataSpot. We'll be focusing primarily on AI agents up here in the top right-hand side, which is where I happen to be focused as a PM lead. But we will also cover Analyst Studio, where you can prep your data for use with AI, perform data mashups through a SQL IDE and the integrated Python notebook environment. We'll briefly cover the AI augmented dashboards, live board capabilities, AI summaries and highlights that ThoughtSpot offers, as well as our semantic model and data management layers with close ties to Databricks, particularly overlapping functionality and compatibility with the Unity Catalog feature set. So very excited to showcase this for you all today. We'll briefly cover the agentic analytics layer here, and if you'd like to see what's next with respect to DataSpot, I very strongly encourage you to visit us at booth 620, F620, and we can continue the conversation there. You can scan this QR code to learn more. So let's briefly cover the Spotter agentic platform here. So the agentic platform is really created from or composed of three key components: our reasoning engine and an orchestration layer, and an agent builder, which allows you to build your own and customize your own agents with context that's specific to your business. We allow you to use any LLM. We provide you with three different options for LLM platform providers to choose from, and are extending our capabilities so that you can bring your own resources if you've done any fine-tuning to customize those to understand your business more effectively. And then the agent itself, the end user experience, has access to various skills spanning, of course, the foundational data questions, our Spot IQ machine learning capabilities, auto selection of data sources, scheduling, data literacy, which I'll showcase, as well as why questions and other skills extending into the actions framework in other systems as well. We enable actions through our recently launched MCP protocol server, which is in public preview. If you are building your own agents and would like to use ThoughtSpot as a source of structured data context for them, that's possible, as well as marry that with unstructured data, either via MCP protocol or via RAG. So why don't we get into it? I will switch over to a demonstration walking you through the foundational areas of ThoughtSpot's platform. So we'll start with a more traditional view of a BI feature set. This is ThoughtSpot's live boards. This is everything that you would expect from an end user focused, business user oriented BI platform. Obviously, visualization capabilities and interactions so that any user can come in and drill down without you having to define a preset drill path. So I can come and interact with any of the visualizations I see and drill down to any layer that I'd like without anybody needing to predefine these. There's a set of standardized visualizations here, as you can see, but we also afford you with customization capabilities, so you can come in and through either a UI or a code-based affordance, select from a various set of charts that are available, or fully customize them through JavaScript, CSS, HTML to make them picture perfect. On top of this more traditional set of BI features, we've layered advanced machine learning and AI capabilities here. So for example, with these KPI charts, I can come in and with one click, commission a change analysis where I can see the key drivers that have been identified that are influencing this KPI that I'm interested in. I can view the details of these and understand how these different attributes are influencing my KPI. And then on top of that, I can get a high-level summary view of all of the information within these KPIs on this live board. where I can see exactly what has changed since the last time that I visited this experience, right? And I find this to be a very helpful way to spur my thinking so I can start to ask natural language follow-up questions using Spotter, which is ThoughtSpot's AI analyst, available here on top of any answer in a live board, or through the home page. I can come in and select a data model, for example, this customer churn Databricks data model, and start conversing with it directly. So I'll provide an overview of the various skills that are available here in Spotter now, and you may have seen Genie or be evaluating Genie. In some ways this is similar, but there's a really fundamental difference here in terms of the design intent, as Spotter is intended to be, is designed for a business user, first and foremost. Our philosophy here is that any user, regardless of their level of data or business context, can come into this system, interact with it, and get value back out. So we'll start acting really as a new user and just ask, what is this, right? Like, how can Spotter help me? And we'll do that by just asking, what is this? And we'll see Spotter provide a description here of not only its capabilities, but also the underlying data that we have selected, right? So we've broken this down into a purpose, a summary, as well as key use cases that I might be interested in as a user who's interacting with this data. So if I see something interesting here, I can simply ask for Spotter to kind of continue this analysis. So I might say, I'm interested in churn analysis. Let's run those questions. And I don't have to say exactly what I mean. You can see I made a misspelling here, but the system can account for that and go ahead and provide me with some analytical questions to get me started, right? And so you can see here it's provided me with a handful of different options that I can, again, interact with in the same way that I showed on the live board. If I find something that's interesting, I can drill down. There's some data literacy capabilities here, allowing me to understand what these search tokens are. And each of these answers that we're seeing ultimately is backed by a SQL query that has been generated on the fly, traversing the underlying tables that are part of this. In this case, this example just had one table that it used. This model is made up of 4 different tables, but I can see the query SQL here, and if I want to go and validate this, say in Databricks in the SQL IDE, I can take that and go ahead and run this. And you can see here, this is actually coming from a catalog integration here. I'm just running this in Databricks, to show you that it's the correct SQL syntax that's being generated on the fly for the user without them ever needing to understand or be exposed to what's happening there behind the scenes, right? So here's the same set of data that's backing that interactive visualization here in ThoughtSpot. Now, these were fairly high-level questions, and we can do some much more powerful things here. So why don't we start by asking for a question that will require a more complex calculation. So let's say, why don't we ask for the customer lifetime value by state, right? This is a churn data set. Customer lifetime value is a fairly well understood concept, but it's not something that's present actually as a formula on this data model. And so by asking for this, what Spotter's had to do is go ahead and create this compound formula on the fly and use that. And you can see the formula syntax that was generated here in this answer that we're looking at. And so if I want to prescribe a follow-up, that's even more, kind of precise, I can commission another formula to be created here, which is asking for a formulaic attribute, right? This is maybe something that a more advanced analytical user would ask for versus the more layman type business user. But you can see here that if I'm specific or if I'm vague, the system's able to take that as an input and create something valuable for me as an output. Now, as we're looking ahead, we're adding more advanced capabilities here. I'll show one of the integration points with Spot IQ and our machine learning features for change analysis within Spotter next. So we'll start with a fairly straightforward question. We can look at something, some time series data, such as show the total charges monthly. that should be fine. And we'll get a time series type chart here, relatively straightforward. But when you see something like this and you see how it's trending, you're going to have a follow-up question. Any person who's looking at this is going to wonder, why is this changing? Why is it fluctuating? And so I might ask, why is it increasing, right? Since we see there's an increase happening. And Spotter is going to interpret this as a question that's needing to be backed by a change analysis and go ahead and perform a change analysis. This is one of our early access skills here in Spotter that we've just released. And once this change analysis completes, what we'll see is Spotter is going to break this high-level question, why is it increasing, down into a set of 4 or 5 subcategory questions and go ahead and perform change analysis for each of these. You can see the reasoning that's being spelled out here, as well as an initial summary and some follow-up questions being suggested, backed by this full report with a handful of formulas for each of these that have been generated, which are breaking down each of the key drivers and then summarizing them here below. Now, everything that we've just generated can be saved, pinned back to one of those live boards that we were just looking at and reused later. So, you may be wondering, how does this all work? What do I have to do to actually create this and serve this type of an experience to my end users? So I'll show you that next. We've moved now into the data workspace here in ThoughtSpot, where I've selected the data model, which we were just conversing with. And so I wanted to highlight a couple points here where we integrate with and can consume the work that you're already doing in Databricks. So all of this metadata here, descriptions, synonyms, so forth, the column names themselves, we can inherit all of this from the Unity Catalog, right? So if you're centralizing that context, that knowledge about your business, we can go ahead and pipe that right in and make that available for use with ThoughtSpot AI. Here we have all the different joins and the table relationships that are defined here. And one thing that's very powerful about the agentic semantic layer for ThoughtSpot is this Spotter coaching, where you can provide reference questions and business terms, which are question parts, which are essentially mappings between these business terminologies and then their data signature in the form of ThoughtSpot search tokens. And so this allows you to really tailor how ThoughtSpot understands and how Spotter understands your unique business terminology to provide more accurate responses. And if you need to do an additional layer of data prep to make your data ready to be included in these models, you can do so in ThoughtSpot's integrated Analyst Studio environment, which I'll show you next. And it's available through the data workspace. You can launch it, and it will bring you into the Analyst Studio, where you can create reports like this. This is an example where I am working in Analyst Studio's first-class SQL IDE, which has an integrated AI assistant. I've selected some Unity Catalog metrics views, which I have created in my connected Databricks source of data, and I'm going to go ahead and work with this. So there's a variety of different things I can do. I'll show a more simple example here, but just relying on the integrated AI assistant to help me aggregate this data monthly. Anything ranging from something this simple to more advanced SQL functions in just an instant that work can be abstracted away, and we can very quickly change the shape of this data to make it more consumable for our end users, right? So one of the really common use cases I see for this is actually parsing unparsed JSON and structuring it. Very, very common. That's what I've done in a lot of these other queries here. And every query that is in this report is automatically loaded in as a data frame in the integrated notebook environment. And so this is where you have all the full power of Python and R at your disposal to be able to take these queries, their results, and mash them up, or bring in even additional data, because there is a secure credential storage capability here. In this case, I'm actually bringing in some additional data via some public APIs and mashing it up with data that's coming from my warehouse, and doing a whole bunch of very visually pleasing things here in Python to do some analysis, right? In this case, it's earthquakes data. I was looking at some different geospatial kind of representations of the data, so forth. Very, very fun. Created some, things that I can play, so forth, right? I mean, it's really, whatever you can imagine you can do, right, within Python, but very powerful. For example, here we have some spatial clustering. It really shows like the fault lines of the different faults that are present here in the Bay Area, right? And once I'm done and I get to something that I'd like and output that as a data frame, I can actually push that back and publish that to the data workspace, right? And so I can make these Python data frames available for use, incorporation in the models that we're building here in the data workspace, and ultimately able to be consumed by my business users, the rest of my organization, through ThoughtSpot AI. And last but certainly not least, we have a fully featured developer workspace where you can take bits and pieces of the full platform and compose those, embed them within your own application through both visual SDKs. We have a playground which gives you the ability to select from and pre-generate the embed code here. So by running this, this will render within a bogus container app, which we have here. You can imagine this being any application of your choice. You can customize, and really it's as simple as, once you have your authorization kind of decisions made there, how you want to authorize your users, copying and pasting this into the host, and then you can have access to all the features that I just showed you within any application. We also offer, of course, REST APIs where you can interact with the different capabilities of ThoughtSpot directly through REST API. And just last week, we released our Model Context Protocol server into public preview, so you can interact with ThoughtSpot in AI agents that you are building on your own. This is something that we've been exploring with a handful of design partners and heavily using internally for our own use cases. So overall, that is an overview of the DataSpot overlapping capabilities with Databricks, and very excited to continue the conversation with you all at our booth. Would love to see you all there at booth F620. Thanks so much for joining us, and please feel free to swarm me with any questions that you have. Thank you.